What would you say is the best part? Like today, like you wake up and you're like, this is the best part of having my page. This is what I love about my page.
Well, I mean, doing stuff like this, man, just like the people, the community of it is the best part. I made so many friends through this, and I wouldn't trade any of that for the world. Like it's honestly, as stupid as this may sound, it's worth more than any of the physical things that I've gained from any of this.
Yo, yo, what up, C10 Nation? This is Ronnie from C10 Talk. C10 Talk is one of those podcast things. We talk C10 trucks, tech, and people. That's right, people. Because it's the people that make the scene so rad-ass. The trucks are cool, but the people are cooler. You can check out the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, C10Talk.com, and anywhere else you listen to your favorite podcasts. Thanks for checking out our latest video and being part of the C10 Nation.
All right, C10 Nation. I like it when he says your boy Garrett. We've got Garrett Reed from American Muscle HD. One of the really, you want to think about a page. It is the page. I was telling before we went on air, a little bit of a generational entertainment. You know, when you think about everything that we're spoiled with social media. Garrett, thanks for taking time to be on C10 Talk and share the story with the C10 Nation.
Man, listen, I was actually going back and looking through our messages. You really were right. This is a long time coming, and I don't know how it took us so long, but here we are, and it's how it's supposed to be. So I'm thankful that you had me on, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, it is kind of funny. You know, it's like, hey, let's get you on the pod. And you're like, all right, all right. And then you look back. And I think the other key is with all this is, the older you get, the faster it goes. But it's crazy how a year, 2 years, 3 years, and you look back and you're like, I thought I just talked to that guy. And you look back and you're like, that shit was freaking 2 years ago.
It's crazy. I was that's the thing I was looking at because I was trying to remember where you had messaged me, if it was a text or if you DM me about because I was trying to remember what day we were doing it. And I went back and looked at my DMs, and I was like, the first time we talked about it was like 3 years ago. I
Yeah.
was like, goodness sakes.
I was probably
Like
sliding into those DMs, dude. I was sliding into Garrett's DMs.
that's
Speaking of
funny.
time, how crazy to think that you are at 11 years since you started your page.
Bro, I don't like thinking about that. Like, because I mean, it's cool from this perspective, but when I think about 11 years just in general, I'm like, I don't even think, I was like, am I even 11 years old? Like, that is crazy. Like, that's been a long time, man. That was right with like, I was a freshman in college. And, and like, that's so crazy to think about how long that's been. But yeah, it's been 11 years, man. And it's been a blast. I've had a lot of fun doing it so far.
The funny thing, I think when you like said, hey, I don't want to really think about that, but go back and think, okay, I'm a freshman in college. I'm a young college student. They got this thing called, Instagram, whatever, right? You're figuring it out. And to think like, hey, I'm sitting here as a, young college student that my page would be one of the top pages. And to think if I would have told you you'd have over 2 million, nonetheless 2.4 million, and that you would have interacted with some famous people in the car community. What was your thoughts like to think about that, how far you've come in 11 years?
Again, like, if you'd have mentioned this to me way back when, I'd have been like, yeah, okay. Just like anything else, it is, I think we all have aspirations and obviously goals to what we do to a degree, but we never fully understand or expect what could happen until it happens. And so, yeah, to think back and say to, if I were to tell my younger self, like, oh yeah, you're gonna have met Jay Leno and gone to his garage and gone to Saudi Arabia to the Dakar Rally and all this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, all right, I'll believe it when it happens. And then, over time, and 11 years goes by, and you've accumulated all these experiences and met all these really cool people and gone to all these really cool places. It's honestly the most humbling experience because, again, this was something that I dreamed of as a kid to be a part of in some regards, and I didn't know what avenue it was going to be. Of course, social media wasn't a thing when I was a child. It really wasn't a thing until I was almost an adult, or I was an adult at 18. So it's been a fairly short period of time if you really think about it in that regards, because all the time from when I first started liking cars when I was a 3, 4, 5-year old to all the way to 18, 19, that's a lot longer of a time, or a lot half, I guess, in time than to what I've been doing now. And so it's been super humbling and it's such a cool experience.
Well, I think the other thing too, and I'm pretty, you know, it's refreshing to hear you say that because that means that you've got a level of gratitude for the community and then what goes on with social media. But the other thing is because you've been in social media for over 10 years, or at least let's just say IG platform, that you've seen so many pages come and go. Like you've seen
Hmm.
a handful that survive and that continue to, but people don't realize it's a shit ton of work. Like you
Oh
have to
yeah.
put in the time and go through all that. So I think that you should also know that your the fruits of your labor. Like I before we went on air, I was telling him it's kind of a generational page in the perspective that my son, who's now he's 21, but back when social media, let's just say he's 15, 16 at the time, and then we're sharing this page. Like there's a lot of times where he's sending me something from your page, I'm sending him something, and then he'll be like, Dad, I'm on that page. I already saw that. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, cool, cool, I get it. But so I think that that your hard work and that constantly making sure that there's good content out there is really why you're successful.
Yeah, and I mean, I that put a smile on my face when you told me that initially, man, because I was just it's hearing stuff like that that really makes it worth it. At the end of the day, obviously I enjoy it still, but it's like when you hear stories like that, or when you hear when I hear people tell me that that I've inspired them to do anything, to get going building on their car again, or I inspired them to, because I have my G body, which I'm sure we'll talk about. They'll be like, man, you inspired me to start building mine again, or to buy one, or whatever, whatever. And it's crazy to think about because it's like, at some point, anything that I've done, I took inspiration from somebody else or a group of people that I looked up to. And to consider that people are looking up to me in any regards like that is it's crazy because I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not somebody that's worth looking up to, but it's insane that that many people care enough about what I'm doing, at the end of the day. So it's really cool.
Yeah, do you find that that's a challenge within having American Muscle HD and then your personal page too, to balance those two?
Yeah, I mean, because of the one thing with the personal page is just it's a little more free reign, right? Because I've got a multitude of hobbies. It's not just cars, and so I post a little bit of everything. I post my, like, obviously my personal life, me going to the gym and whatever. And it's more, that's where people can get to know me more, and see what I'm doing on a more day-to-day basis as opposed to just the cars. Uh, and so it's, when I have people that will come on there and like, reach out and like we'll have real heart-to-heart moments about things that, if I'm going through something and somebody else has something that, like, as an uplifting thing to say to me, or vice versa. It's honestly, that's the coolest thing about it, because these are just strangers that you don't know in person. They're just people online, really. And the fact that people can have that interaction with one another and not actually know each other in person is kind of crazy.
Are you ever surprised that people want to get to know and or follow you from a personal perspective after they find the page and they're like, "Hey, I just want to know, behind the scenes, who's the guy, who's the myth, who's the legend, what makes you tick on one end because of the success of the page?"
Yeah, I wouldn't say I've had people actually like explicitly tell me that, but I think that's maybe what their intentions are to some degree when they do follow me on my personal, and then they get to know me on a deeper level, or more about me than just cars, right? And over time, they'll obviously get to know me more as I divulge things or post about more stuff on my personal. So it always ends up coming back to that. And like I said, those people that follow me on my personal, like, I guess, are truly kind of invested in me, I guess, to some degree, to where they care about me more than just cars. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. So how would you say when you look back, getting to know the kind of the deep-rooted perspective of Garrett, how did you get into cars?
it was because of my older brother. He's 8.5 years older than me, and so like truly everything that I'm into, every hobby that I'm into has stemmed from him in some regards. My brother was he was always intrigued by different things, and so like he would get into it into a very like base level, And then I would obviously be always on his coattails or always watching what he was doing. And so like I would, find interest and intrigue in it as well. And so as I got older, I would always kind of, I never knew how to do anything to a small degree. Obviously, we know as car guys, we can't ever leave nothing alone. So like it's the same thing with any of the hobbies that I was into. I could never just get into it to a micro level. I'd always have to, go to that top, try to get to the top level. And so that was the same thing with everything. So with cars, it started out with models, obviously, and when I was able to, when I finally started reading, I was reading. I can never remember the name of it. I found them online, but it was like from the late '90s, early 2000s. It was those. They sold them in like packets, and you could put them in a 3-ring binder, and it was like almost like a not a brochure, but sort of like, I forget what they were called, but they were all about like the cars of the late '90s. So
Wow.
like they had like the Bugatti EV110, the Corvette, the Viper, and like it had all the stats on them. It was kind of like Motor Week, but in a print form.
Yeah.
And so like it would have like the details about the car and 0 to 60 times and all that stuff. And I used to read those religiously. I actually have them downstairs. Somebody sent them to me because I had made a post about it, and somebody had like 3 binders full of them, and they sent them to me,
That's
which was super
crazy.
cool. It was so
Yeah.
random. Yeah, somebody sent them to me. So I have them downstairs, but I can't remember what they're all. I can't remember the name of them off the top of my head. I'll find
But
them
I
afterwards
get
though.
it. It's like a pamphlet or like a
Hmm.
info brochure. The funny thing
Yeah.
is just that you're saying the 3-ring binder alone. That kind of takes it back right there to the 90s where, and to
Grade
think
school
that,
era.
that, and I just love it because I could see you, right? Because I could see myself. I used to take like C10, K10, like parts catalogs to bed, like literally, like just
Hmm.
looking through it and just kind of fantasizing or dreaming about the parts I want to buy and how I would build something. And I could see like a young Garrett, like you're going through and you're studying all these stats on these cars and there's a deep rooted passion there. That's another thing I think is really cool about your page is people could have a page and they could have the hustle, they could do it, but it takes that passion to really know that the guy's really into it to the next level, to
Yeah.
just know what, because that's how you know what the audience wants to see, because you're that passionate guy on the other end as well.
Right, right. It's not just thumbs. But speaking about the bringing the parts catalogs to bed, like I could not tell you how much money I spent or had my parents spend on like DuPont registry magazines
Yeah.
and like remember the old Auto Trader magazines? You could get like
Duh.
the big ones. Like it was almost like a newspaper.
Yeah.
I used to get those at the grocery store because they were free. I used to get those. I used to get the thick the was it Auto Trader or what was it? It was another one of those like car selling books, and they were like super thick, had that old type paper.
Like newspaper,
I
just
Yeah,
classifieds.
almost newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, classifieds. I used to read those. I used to read Diesel Power magazine like religiously. I could not tell you how much money I spent on print media. I used to read all the time, man. But again, it was just the thing about learning and absorbing as much information as I could. And but going back to the passion thing, I mean, it's like you said, I think that's the one thing that does separate my account from many others. Even though I haven't put my face out there to the highest intent that I should have, I think people do realize though that there still is an actual person behind it because I engage with people in the comments. I try to respond to DMs as often as I can. So it's not just like a user generated account that's just posting stuff.
Yeah, there's plenty of those, and we see that, specifically in our community. I think there's like 5 people in Singapore or somewhere that are just, cutting and pasting or copying, and there isn't quite the passion behind it. So, I think for the audience and for your community, it is cool that you're kind of like, hey, I want to make sure that you know who's behind these posts and who's behind this passion and who's behind this page.
Yeah, 100%.
So
100%.
when you were a kid and you're sitting there looking through and just constantly studying, what did you think you would be? Did you know that you would get into cars, or did you think, hey, I want a job that makes a lot of money so I can buy all these cool cars? Or what was going back to that freshman year of college? What were you studying? What were you thinking?
Well, honestly, it started in high school. I really think is when I started to really consider like what I wanted to do. And so like I remember in what was it? Homeroom, me and one of my buddies, Ryan, we used to always write out these plans, like almost like a business plan of how we were going to run a shop, like have a shop. that was kind of the thought process that I had of how I was going to be in the industry and whatever. And I'll be honest, I'm personally thankful I didn't decide to do that because I know so many friends and so many people that have shops, and kudos to them, they're making it work. But dude, if that's not the most stressful thing in the world. And so I'm thankful I didn't go that route. But that was the way I thought I was gonna go. I wish I still had some of those, man, and to go back and look at, because we used to write them out, and we had all the plans, like, well, who was gonna do what and what we were gonna build and da 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 da. And so that's kind of where it started. And I'll be honest, when I got to college, I didn't have a true direction as to what I wanted to do. And I think if I could go back, I think I cheated myself out of college in the sense of my degree. I got a real generic business management degree, which is fine, but I wish I could go back and have done something more hyper focused in business, like logistics or supply chain, or just something a little more honed in on business than just a generic business management degree. Because I feel like all that degree taught me was it just reinforced strengths and character traits that I already knew about myself, which is that I'm a problem solver and I'm a people person. That's the only two things that I feel like it taught me. And then I got a piece of paper for it saying I could do it. So, I don't, I enjoyed my time in college. I feel like it definitely was helpful for me. I made a lot of great friends. One of my best friends from college, a couple of my best friends. But if I could go back, that's what I would do.
Yeah, it's funny when you say that, because now you are who you are. You figured some of those things out from a business management perspective. But if I went back and I said, "Hey, you're going to really want to do this," you'd be like, "Nah, I don't want to." So
Yeah.
it's so funny how life works that way. And for me, I have a daughter who's in college. My son is more of a he's kind of going to learn on the job type way. And you could tell people and young kids all this stuff, and they're going to figure it out their own way. So your path is
Yeah.
your path. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, we can think we know what we're gonna do, and then it turned out to be something completely different. So, again, I enjoyed my time in college. I feel like it was definitely worthwhile. But if I could go back and do it in hindsight, I would have been a little more hyper focused on what I would have selected as my major.
Did you go to school in Georgia, in Atlanta?
Yeah, I went to a college called Kennesaw State University.
Okay.
It's actually, believe it or not, it's the second largest university behind University of Georgia now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like just under 40,000 students. It's crazy.
Wow. So bigger than Georgia Tech.
Yeah, bigger than Georgia Tech, bigger than Georgia State, bigger than Georgia Southern, West Georgia.
Wow. So
Emory.
you get out of college, and then what do you do?
Kept doing what I've been doing, man. I just,
Starting
it
the
was
page?
crazy. Yeah, so I was, like I said, I started it in college between my freshman and sophomore year. And what was crazy was that I was making money in college, you know. And I remember this story. It was pretty funny. It was my second to last year, I think, and I had a class where it was a fall semester, and I had got invited by Chevrolet Performance to Detroit for the launch of the 6th Gen Camaro. So we went up there and we got to tour the plant in Lansing, and then we did Woodward Dream Cruise, and they did a special tribute to the 67 and the new 2016. And so I was up there with them, got paid for that. And I got back, I missed the first week of school. Well, most classes in college, the first week is always a syllabus week. You don't really do any work. And I had this class, it was like a two day a week class. And so I get back, and the professor that I had wasn't about that syllabus crap. Like, he went straight to work. So I get to class, and me and one other guy had missed that first week. And so he had us stand up in front of class and explain why we weren't there. And I told him, I was like, I was working with Chevrolet Performance, in Detroit. And I was just like, I was getting paid. I don't know what to tell you. And he wasn't really amused at the time, I guess, but we ended up having a good relationship afterwards. But everybody in the class was like all, interested as to what, why and what I was doing. And then I told him, and everybody was like, that's awesome. And so it was funny. I was doing it while I was in college.
Well, that's pretty cool to think that back then that even GM recognized that, like, hey, we have because at that point, I don't think the word influencer was
Oh
quite
no,
what
it
it
was
is
brand new.
today. Yeah.
It was
So
brand new. Yeah.
kind of ticking that back, how did you end up coming up with the page? Like, what was your thoughts? Freshman year in college, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna start this page, and I'm gonna call it not only what you called it, but to hit such a home run and kind of, go through that.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. I started it out of I started it out of curiosity because a buddy of mine, I used to go to a car show, like a Friday night car show with a buddy of mine, and he had started one, I think, like a little while before me, and it was called what was it called? Truck Nation or Truck something. It was a truck page, lifted truck page. And he had like 14,000 followers at the time, which was a
Wow.
crazy number. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah.
crazy number. I was like, how in the world? And so I was like, all right, I was interested. So I was like, all right, I'm going to start a page. And so I did. And it wasn't originally called American Muscle HD. And if I remember the course of events correctly, it was called America Muscle or
Hmm.
something like that. And then so long into having it, it got hacked back when people were hacking pages for fun. And they changed the name. Like they took America Muscle from me and then they changed the name, or I changed it to HD or something like that. I don't remember who did it or what, but it's since then it's stuck. And so mainly because I couldn't get the original name back. But yeah, a lot of it has been happenstance. It didn't really have a true like direction when I did this,
Yeah, that's crazy. Like it's just meant to be, like your
something like
passion
that.
and then some of the different things that happen. And like we said, your buddy Truck Nation, right? Okay, it's fun. And then people move on. And a lot of times what happens is people like life happens like, okay, now I got to get a real job and I've got a family. And so I don't have time to post or I don't have time to commit to this. Whereas for you, everything kind of worked out where it's pretty much been you whether you realize it or not, you almost created your job based upon your passion and your business management and everything that makes up who Garrett is.
Yeah, and I mean, and I won't lie to you. I mean, it helps that I still live at home, with my folks. So that's kind of chill. That in that regards, it kind of helps me keep my expenses a little lower than if I was out on my own. But like that's something that I know is a little bit of it was a little bit. It's definitely an advantage for me because a lot of people don't have that opportunity to do that. So, because who knows what would have happened if I had to jump out on my own right off rip, then I would have had to maybe have gotten a full-time job. Um, and then I wouldn't have been able to continue doing like what, putting forth the effort that I have to it right now. So that I attribute a lot of what, where I'm at right now because of that.
Yeah, for sure. Do you when you think about it and because it is, your primary income, does that add a level of stress to it to where there's
Oh
days where
yeah.
you're like, "Hey, I need to take a break. I don't want to post today. I don't want to deal with whatever today because, people it's funny because a normal job, right? You're let's just say in theory 40 hours a week, but when you manage this page or a page where it's, successful as it is, it's 24/7, is
Yeah.
yeah, there's
No,
no
100%. For the most part, yeah. I mean, it's not I'm not. It's it to your point. It is true. Like it's a 24/7. You're constantly on it. You're constantly looking. You're constantly trying to acquire content, or make content. But it's a little different, I think, than a 40-hour work week job because you don't have to necessarily like always be on it. Like you have breaks, and it's so. But it's a different level. I think it's the mindset of it's different. I'm sorry. What was the original question?
Oh, really just like you said, I mean, honestly, it's just
Oh
do
yeah.
you get days where you're like, is it where you're like, "Hey, I need a
Oh
break?"
yeah.
Because there is a pressure there.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, social media gets draining after a while, man, because it's just like, as much as you try not to let things like like little things bother you, like, the algorithm and whatever, things that are out of your control, you try not to let those things bother you, but at some point they always creep in the back of your head and you're always just like, like, it just gets on your nerves. So there's definitely days where I'm just like, I don't feel like doing this anymore, or I don't feel like posting this, but you just push through it, because again, you got to remember at the end of the day, there's only so much most of this you cannot control. You can
Yeah.
only control what kind of content you create, and then if the algorithm's not really rocking with it, oh well. Like what can you do about it? You just got to keep pushing.
Dude, I love it. There's guys who or pages and this is probably this is I don't know if I've ever said this. And you don't have to self-criminate for you and your page on this, but on a couple of my pages, people will text me or I should say DM me and say, "Hey, leave a comment on this, please." Like I it's almost the worst thing to do to me because they're just trying so hard to fight the algorithm, and I'm just like, dude, I comment on pages and posts all the time, like ones that I like. I just I hate like constantly trying to be challenged or uh I guess facilitate the algorithm so that, and there are times where I will. Okay, so
Yeah.
say somebody's like, say Garrett's like, okay, hey, leave a comment on this. Okay, cool, I will. Right? But sometimes I'm like, enough. Like, stop
Yeah.
with the like generic cut and paste of please go to this post and leave a comment and so on and so forth. So sometimes that can be a little weird where people are constantly trying to, I get it. They're trying to push their page. They're trying to up their algorithm and fight the system. But it does wear me out sometimes where I'm just like, no, I'm not going to just rando leave a comment just because you like if it warrants a comment or if it warrants it, I'll give it all day long. It's
Hmm.
so it gets weird, but then people will be like, and I can't even imagine having 2.4 million people are like, hey, can you post this? I'll pay you this. Can you do this? Can you do this? And I'm sure there's a balance there where you're like, listen, I don't want my page to turn into, a commercial page or an infomercial or this and that. And that's
Yeah.
and I can't even, again, I can't even imagine 2.4 million, the things that probably come across your plate, your inbox, and your DMs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've seen a lot of the other, like a lot of other pages that, post stuff that's highly irrelevant to what the content is, whether it's like these, OnlyFans girls videos or whatever. And I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. The money that they're throwing around is enticing, but it's not worth destroying in making my stuff not reputable anymore or marketable anymore. It's like I have morals. It's like, yeah, okay, I could use money. Obviously, money's good, but to what cost, right? And so I just, that's the kind of stuff I turn out. Everything I try to promote, is I try to make it as relevant as possible, or at least if it's not necessarily like directly relevant to cars, it's like relevant to just life. So it could be like some kind of product that's just like other, like you could use it like in your day-to-day life. It may not just be about cars per se, right?
Yeah. Have you ever
But
been approached to have like a title sponsor just so, hey, this is brought to you by this company, to have one title sponsor that would help facilitate some of that for you? Have you been approached by?
I've never had that. I've never had that for Instagram. I don't know if companies really look at doing that for Instagram account. But because I haven't focused enough energy on YouTube, which I should be. But that's just because I've always overthought it. I thought, like, I was just actually talking to somebody about this on the phone before we got on here. I was just telling like how I've always thought that I had to have like a constant, like I've watched a lot of YouTubers and I'm friends with a lot of them, and I look at their content and they have like build series, right? A build series, or they have something along those lines where they have constant content for a dedicated period of time. And I think to myself, I'm like, I don't have anything going on like that. It's like both my cars are already built, you know, and I missed the window of opportunity to really capitalize on during those builds to be able to do that. And it is what it is. But now I don't have anything to be able to have a build series. I feel like that people would want to watch. So I've never dedicated the time. So to get back to your question, no, I haven't had a company interested in doing like being like a title sponsor for my Instagram channel. I'm not saying it's not possible. I've just never had that.
Well, I think it's definitely possible. I'm let's just say like Detroit Speed, like American Muscle HD, like as long as they're getting tagged every time, that it's probably worth it to them. But that's you. Hey, you've got a degree in business management. I don't. I'm just saying that there's definitely companies out there. If GM Performance is hitting you up and the relationships that you have, there's so many ways to make money. But I also am the same way. Like there's times where I'm like, I don't know if I want to, pardon the term, but whore myself out. Like, oh, every little, like
Mm,
there's some pages where they have like 20 different little, brought to you by this, brought to you by this, brought to you by this.
yeah,
So,
or all my sponsors or something like that.
would be cool. And I need to do this here locally in Arizona because we're so lucky from the C10 perspective and the custom shop. And it could be, cars in general. People love trucks and cars. But if you could go around and you're like, hey, well, my YouTube page, I need to focus on my builds. Okay, well, you could, but then I think if you would go around to like shops in that general area and then work your way out, dude, you'd have a very successful channel that you would tag on
Oh,
to that.
dude. You have no idea, man. I've had this idea for a video series to travel around because I'm friends with all of I'm friends with all of the biggest shops around the country. The biggest names, the roadster shops, the speed pours, the Detroit Speeds. I mean, all of them, and even some of the smaller ones that people don't even know about. Like I've developed relationships and followed them. Like there's one shop that's out in Orange, California that I really want to go visit. Old Anvil Speed
Oh
Shop.
yeah, I just saw them that truck they had on Autotopia the other
Yeah.
day. That dude was
What,
freaking
dude, did you see this it's a step side, is it a step side F100 step side C10? It's in bare metal and they did a picture where it's
yeah.
like a see-through hood and you could see that cone that's going into the supercharger. Dude,
Yeah,
that is the coolest
their
thing
stuff is
ever.
legit.
And I love, see, that's the thing I love about because I'm not a builder, but I have a builder's eye. Like,
Sky's
yeah,
the limit, bro.
I
from
know.
you
I
could have
know,
your
man.
I'll help you get your podcasts running. You could go do some shop tours and you'll
Dude,
be
I'm
dude
telling you.
American Muscle HD.
On the road, dude. I'm telling you, like, again, it's been an idea I've had for a long time, and it's just figuring out a way to finance it because obviously, it's not cheap to travel around and stay places and eat and this, that, and the third, and then obviously produce the content and such and such, So it's like I don't want to necessarily do it on my own. Having somebody there to help me would be ideal.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of moving parts, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but I have just yet to figure out like a way to finance it. But again, like I was saying, knowing the idea of it is not the issue. Like I know so many so many shops that I could just pull up on, hit them up, either DM them, call them, and just be like, hey, I'm in town. I want to come by. I want to show a shop tour, because again, I think particularly, for the smaller shops, everybody knows Detroit Speed, Roadster Shop, Speed Core, all the big name people, Kindig. But like, yeah, like Old Anvil. I mean, they're a smaller shop, but dude, they create some amazing quality vehicles, that most people don't get the chance to see. Their social following is not huge. Um, but yeah, you see these shops pop out at, at the Autorama, Detroit Autorama, or, at Good Guys or Grand National Roadshow Show, and then they pop out with these cars, and you're like, who are these people? I've never heard of them. And it's just
Yeah.
some small shop in like the Midwest or something.
Well, what's his face, right? I he was at Rad Rides and now he's in Nebraska and he just popped out that Cherokee and then that Buick. At SEMA this year, he's just cleaning up. He was in the top. He won. I mean, he's winning everything.
You talking about yeah, with the Cherokee that was in Keystone's booth and
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I love that chair. That's probably one of my favorite builds of
oh,
SEMA. And then that Buick, the
that
Buick
Buick
was
is insane. The
yeah.
Invicta
Yeah. Yeah.
thing has won everything. That
Yeah.
car won
Yeah.
every award. Oh,
Yeah.
what is? Oh, I
Yeah.
forgot the
And
name of it.
so
Anyway, yeah, I know you're talking
yeah,
about
they win. They're winning everything. So I kind of dig
Andy
that.
Leach. Andy Leach. Andy
Yeah.
Leach.
Yep. I just love that. I love that it's gotten to that point where those guys can make enough money to, when you find a client or two, and then what happens is, they take a little bit of a bet on themselves. And if you start cleaning house like that, now his build list is, 3-4 years out now because
Oh yeah.
when you show that kind of talent, so, and we're just spoiled, right? We're spoiled in this world that as long as the EPA doesn't shut everything down, we've got so many generations of cars and trucks and just automobile. It's a good time. It's a good time. And what I think is crazy, and you play a huge role in this, we all do, but the connectivity of
Mm.
social media and what that does. And I have guys who, let's just again, I always kind of go back to my work. I work with 220 different people. We've got, people who are 60 and we have people who are 20. And it's funny because you'll see people and there's people who are 35 and 40 and they just don't have the social media. But the social media has such a powerful connectivity to where you can be um you could see a truck, you can see a car, and just like you kind of alluded to with your G body, it's like you're motivating people, and they see that and they like that style, and even with you, it's like, hey, I've kind of got a little bit of a builder's eye. Doesn't mean I'm a builder, but
Mm.
I like this, and you'll see things and you're like, oh my God, like I'll take a little bit of this, I'll take this stance, I'll take this wheel, I'll take this color, and then I'll jumble it all up in my own blender, and I want to build what I want to build. So social media really helps that, and it's a fun time to be in classic automobiles.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, again, it's really cool. The thing that sucks right now, like with me, is again, with being friends with and having been in this space and seeing the caliber of vehicles that come out of these shops that that I know, I'm like, man, that's what I want to hold my vehicles to a standard to. And I'm just like, I don't have the pockets of the clients that these guys have. So I'm just like, I'm holding these high, almost unrealistic expectations of what my car should be to a degree. And like with my car, I'm so hard on how it's turned out and how it looks. Don't get me wrong, I love the car. It's a car I plan on never getting rid of. Like, I've actually had a crazy high offer on it once, and I turned it down, and people called me crazy for it because they're like, you could have built another one, but it's not the same. And like, I'm actually talking with a shop right now about having it sent off to be repainted, something that I've wanted to do for a long time, because the paint is like one of the things. Every time I look at the car, I'm just like disgusted, because I'm just like, because it didn't get painted right the first time. And I just look at it, I'm like, man, so many people tell me, they're like, man, you got the baddest G body, or you got the baddest Monte Carlo. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea. Like, I've seen some bad G bodies. I've seen some bad, whatever. My car doesn't hold a candle to them. I think it's just the standpoint of, like, the provenance of my car and the story behind it. And not to sound conceited, but maybe just because it's mine, I don't know. But I just, I have like the standard about it that I want it to be to. And, once it gets there, I will be, head over heels and over the moon about it. But right now, it's just, I constantly am just like, I want it to be better.
Well, I think everybody does, and we want
Oh,
to
yeah, for sure.
push that, right? But I almost think that that's even another reason why, like, there's a fine there. I feel like there's a happy, I don't know, there's I look at like Derek from Vice Grip Garage, and he just embraces junk, right? So then you have the value of embracing junk, and then you have like where you're just constantly trying to make everything, better, right?
Mhm.
And I think though, like with our cars, we all want things to be better, and I don't know. It's a hard balance to say, like, in the classic truck world, for example, like patina. I almost feel like, hear me out on this. And I think the G body world and your Monte Carlo, is it 87? What year is that?
84. 84.
84. Like, it's got that midnight blue. It's got that crisp look. I almost feel like in the classic truck world right now, see what you think about this. I think the recipe is you take an OG classic car, if you can find it, in or truck, and you embrace the body and the paint,
Hmm.
or the gapping, whatever. But what's happened is you're going to spend 2 to 3 years in paint prison. Now you have an opportunity to get your car painted. Somebody's going to turn that into a marketability. So you've got a little squeeze there, because they're not going to drag their feet for years and years. And the
Right.
other thing you could do, depending on money, is, hey, I'm going to have fun with a second car or something else I've always wanted to build, and then while my car's in the shop getting painted.
Hmm.
But I feel like, let's say you got 100 grand, and I know that seems crazy, but for, obviously I'm in trucks. Okay, you take a square body truck, whatever, and you find it, and then you make the chassis just like off the charts. You give it a 6.0 or 6.2. You redo the interior, but you leave the paint and body alone, and you embrace that. So you have to find that level of embrace. I just think it's funny where we get so carried away, and we lock it down in paint and body. Okay, 2 years paint prison, whatever. Well, then the problem is, do you even want to drive the damn thing?
Yeah.
Are you so stressed because you just spent so much time and money in paint and body, and paint and body's just out of hand, right? 20 to 30 to 40 to $50,000 in 2 to 3 years of it being locked down. Well,
Hmm.
now you're like, dude, find that OG Monte Carlo, find some T-tops, whatever that car is, they're still out there.
Yeah.
And then you just take that chassis, that motor, that interior. I mean, dude, some of those interiors, you find them, they're like $30,000 freaking Malibus and Monte Carlos, and it's crazy. And I
Mhm.
almost like, you're like, dude, I'm leaving this interior. I want it to smell like grandmama.
Dude, no, you have no idea. I mean, like my Monte Carlo, I think is gonna. I wanted it to be like my pinnacle. You know what I'm saying? I wanted it to. I've always had this pedestal that I've always wanted it to be on, but the time frames and the series of events that's happened in the time frame that I've owned it has always kept it from being what I've wanted it to be. And so I'm at the point now with it where I'm okay with however long it takes to a degree because I've fulfilled the obligations, I should say, to all the sponsors that I've had. I've had this car for almost 6 years now. So like that part of it's done, right? That was what I was always rushing to do because I had to get it to shows. I had to make content. So I had to fulfill those obligations. Now I'm to the point where it's like, all right, I want this car to be how I've dreamed of it to be from the beginning. I have no time frame now. I could care less. Obviously, I want to drive the car. Don't get me wrong. Like this summer, I'd like to be cruising the car. But I've gone so far. I've gone to this point so far to where I don't care if it takes another year, so long as it's exactly how I want it to be. Like right now, it's running like absolute crap, right? So I got to get it retuned. I got to figure out what's going on. I got to get it, running back like it was before. I got to put a new transmission in it because I burnt the transmission up in it. And then I got to get it painted, you know, and to your point, when you said, am I going to even want to drive it after it gets painted? Yeah, I will, because I'm going to take all those precautionary steps. I'm going to get it, PPF it. I'm going to, ceramic coat it. I'm going to do all the things. And it's going to have so much clear in it that if I do get a rock chip or if I do get some swirls in it, I just go get it, go get it buffed or cut and you're right back in business. That's the thing I can't do right now. You know what I mean? So, I will put battle scars on it again, I'm sure, but I'm gonna do it because I'm gonna do it willingly, knowing that like, okay, I have some security blanket in the paint to where I can get some of this fixed or it'll survive. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think what you do is you got to look, you got to turn everything around and say, I'm no different than my community. I'm no different than my audience. They 6 years ago they built a car and now they want to upgrade it because we're so, again, back to being fortunate in our community. Holly's coming up with something new every freaking day, and there's new products and chassis and suspensions and new components. And oh, do I want to coil over it now? When I 6 years ago or 8 years ago when I came up with it and I built it, and I think the key though is, do I want to build it out of my own pocket so I don't have the stress of meeting that timeline and the crunch, and I want to do it
Mhm.
just right? But I think there is a happy medium, especially when you have 2.4 million followers. Those companies are they're gonna throw whatever at you,
Yeah.
and you just have to say, hey, listen, I don't know what your expectation is, but this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna give you this, but it might not be done in 6 months because I want to slow play this build.
Yeah.
But don't forget that there's people out there just exactly like you, just like me, where like I built my truck orange slice and I'm like, dude, I would love if I had a bunch of money to break that whole thing down. And I wouldn't change it that much, but I would change things and I would do things, and that's an evolution. And I think we're so spoiled because people just be like, I'm gonna sell it, I'm gonna go to the next project, I'm gonna sell it, I'm gonna go to the next project. But if it's like, dude, this is my girl, this is my one and only, then you might break it down, and it might be one of those things that it's also a fun journey for you, and the audience is watching because they're going to tune in whether they have a car or not, or they're going to tune in because they like you, they like your content. But let's say 20% of them, they're going through the same shit. They're like, dude, I don't know, I don't want to do that, and it drives, it runs, I don't want to break it down. And I
Mhm.
think I think the number one thing for my audience and your audience too is, I always just tell people, and I'm dealing with it right now. I got a Blazer that's been sitting, and it's just like you have to find that balance because before you know it, it's 5 years later, and
Yeah.
you're like, that's why I always think the auctions do so well because people don't want to wait. We're in a
People
non
don't hate. Yeah.
people
People hate to
people got
wait.
money and they're like, nope, I don't want to wait. I'll buy that
Yeah.
son of a bitch right now.
Yeah.
I'll give it over to my buddy Chester. He can spend a month on it and clean it up and fix all the little things, and now I can run it anytime I want. It's not broke
Yeah.
down. It's not this. So
100%. And I was at one point before I had the Monte Carlo built, I turned wrenches on it, but before I had it sent off and had it built and done up, I was under that same mindset. I was like, man, I don't have the patience for this. Like I don't have the time to just like to sit in like have a car and it takes you forever to get it done, right?
But as I've gone along, I actually enjoy the process now,
Oh,
weirdly.
it's therapeutic, bro.
I actually enjoy the process. And I mean, I think it helps that, obviously that they're not my dailies. There's something to just have fun in. So it's not, there's no real stress, particularly now. Now, there was stress in the beginning because, yeah, I was under time crunches and had to get the car done and whatnot. But going back to your point, like, yes, this is the car that I want to have is like a pinnacle. This is the car that everybody knows me for. And I really wanted to truly live up to the hype that everybody gives it. Like the car photographs phenomenally, photographs and videos phenomenally. But it's like a good 10-footer, and I don't want it to be that. I want it to be a car you get up on and you're like, damn, this car is actually really pretty. Like the paint is deep, the gaps are good, there's no, whatever. Like, I want it to be that car. And so I just, this is my opportunity if I can to get it to that point, at least in the paint and body aspect of things, to where it truly will have that title. But I have wanted to do another car similar to like, the truck style, where it's like I found a first gen Monte Carlo. I found a 1971. I don't know if it was a true, but it has the badging. It was a 454 SS car. It's a roller. Patina is all get out. I'll send it to you afterwards. It's
That's
green.
that's a big hoopty, right? That's the
Yeah,
double.
the
Oh yeah.
long
Oh
hood that
yeah.
had that massive drum on the
Yeah.
fan clutch. Yeah. You could dang near put two LS's,
Oh,
hit the
so
button
rad.
yeah, it's insane. Um, so I found one of those. It's a 71 454 SS roller. Patina is all get out, and they want $4,900 for it. And I
Sold.
literally, dude,
Sold.
I'm telling you, if I had a place to keep it, like I told my dad about it today. He was like, "You better not." And I was like, "Dude, if I had a place to go put it, I would totally do it." But like I already have a build plan, and it would be so simple. Like it's literally, I've wanted a big block car for so long, and I just want it to be a street bruiser. It's not going to be, I'm not out here trying to set records. I mean, obviously, it's going to have a lot of horsepower, but I just want a nasty big block with a manual, built rear end, suspension, brakes, wheels, and tires. That's it. And I have seats and gauge and but
Yeah.
body, as long as there's no major holes in the body, I just want to leave it patina as I don't know what, and I just want to come down the boulevard thumping. Nothing better than the sound of
Oh,
a big block Chevy just thumping off the ground, and that's what I want.
big blocks and base. Dude, here's the deal. Okay. I got this whole thing. The Monte Carlo needs to be painted. So you're going to take the Monte Carlo and you're going to send it off to paint. Just freed up a spot. There we go. There we go, Dad. There we
Dang
go.
it.
So you literally just killed two birds with one stone. He told you
Yeah.
you couldn't take up another parking spot. Okay, I got you, Dad. So now the Monte Carlo, the 84 goes off to paint. That's going to be a year minimum. All right,
At
now
least.
you go pick up the 71. Boom. And now you just got to cycle through shops. So you just got to keep cycling through shops to make sure that parking spot is, you only have one car there. Now, by the time they both get done and ready to go, now you might either need to have a storage facility, rent
Have my own
something,
house. We'll have my own spot.
or have your own house, or sell the second car plus the daily, right? That's your caddy.
Yeah, the caddy, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I've got the thing is like I have a couple of locations. Like I think I have a buddy of mine down here in Atlanta, that has a warehouse that he told me he'd save me a spot
oh, dude.
in his warehouse. And then I got guys, then I have storage in Detroit. I can keep a car in Detroit. So it's just a matter of shuffling cars around. I could probably keep something out in Cali.
The problem is you're going to end up being like Solomon from the Ford era for the audience.
Oh,
He's
dude.
got 70 different trucks, and I don't even think he knows where they're all at. So,
Probably not
yeah,
anymore.
they're
I
in
don't know how he manages that. That's a
No,
headache in
no,
itself. I
yeah,
don't
it
know
is. And
how in
then
the
he
world
just
he
keeps
knows.
buying more. So it's
Yeah,
like,
I'm like,
and then
dude,
and then I'll talk to him on the phone and he'll be like, yeah, I just don't, I'm stressed out. I don't know where. And I'm like, you keep doing, and then we'll get off the phone. And then 2 weeks later, he'll be like, oh, I found this. I think here's what I think. I think, and I'm glad this doesn't happen to you, but I think from a social media perspective, you're influenced by the influencers. So it's like I
oh
got to
yeah,
keep buying stuff to make stuff happen and make content to do this and this, and buying vehicles and not getting them done. It can be a problem. And I've done that myself. I have way too many vehicles here that I think, oh, this is all content, but eventually content is money and it takes time and money
oh for
and
sure.
finding that balance. So here's the deal on this Monte Carlo. I think you need to probably go put some money down on it today, but you if somebody else, you call them and they're like, oh, I got Charlie just put down 500. Are you know, are you gonna be able to sleep? It's gonna break your heart. It's gonna
True.
break your heart. So you got to
True.
buy it, dude.
Let
You
me
got to
see if
buy it. I'm an enabler. I'm an enabler. You need to
I
buy
see
it.
that. I see
Yeah.
that. Let's see if it's still up. Hold on.
Your community, the Monte Carlo community, they need this. They need this thing, man. What
It's still
wheels are you
up.
gonna put on this thing?
Oh, it'd probably be a drag pack. It'd be a yeah, it'd be a I'd almost have it on like a true like a slick almost. I'd have it on a slick. Or what I've been thinking about, I don't know if I do it with this body style, but I've been wanting to do a gasser build.
Out of a Monte Carlo?
I don't know if you could do it.
Nah, they just go.
I don't
They
know if you
just,
could do it.
dude. Anything that here's what my thought is. Not that you're really asking, but the longer it is, the lower it goes. So it's like,
Yeah.
man. I mean, I could see you putting some big meats in it, tub it out a little bit, and get that thump, like you said. Big cam in there, and just rolling. Ah, yeah,
What I kind of like the idea though. I mean, like I would probably keep it low, but like you remember how the old Chevelles used to sit, the 70s Chevelles used to sit when they would launch and that front end would hike up.
sure.
That's how I'd want this car to respond.
Yeah. Well,
I
and you
want it
could
to
even
be like
go
a
to think about like a 66, 67 Chevelle, a little bit
dude,
longer
that's my
than the
dream.
7. Yeah,
That's my
100%.
67 convertible is my dream car, dude.
See, now I'm not a convertible guy. I think you lose the lines. It's funny
Mm,
because like Camaros and Corvettes, I mean, kind of we know them as convertibles. I just like I'll see a Camaro, like even a 69 Pace Camaro, like I just like the hardtop, man. The I lose the line. I absolutely my favorite car is probably a 66 Chevelle. That or a third gen IROC Camaro, but I don't know. We could talk all day on these cars. I mean, there's so
yeah.
many, they're not going anywhere. They're out there and there's so many different
Hmm.
fun things. So do you find that it's hard with sponsors? Do you find that,
No,
you're challenged by them?
no. Well, I will to a degree, like the money aspect of things, I think, and there's something I've been working on lately. It's just my approach and how I've approached them and what I'm asking for. Like they have no problem, companies have no problem giving parts out for sponsorship because they've already allotted marketing dollars for parts. Like that's not a thing for them because they write that off into the year. But dollars, like spending actual dollars, is always been something that I found to be harder to ask for. So it's something I've been working on this year is coming with a better, like a true deck, a true plan to pitch to them to where they see the entire value that they're getting. It's not just, oh, okay, he's going to post about us, our product on his car, right? So that's the thing I've been trying to elevate on because I have like kind of slacked in that regards, as to my professionalism, how I approach the companies and what I ask for. But yeah, that would be the hardest thing is, the money aspect of things has always been more difficult to ask for than just parts.
Yeah, well, and it's harder to get, and then you do have a little cloud over your shoulder when it's like, okay, parts, I got to make sure I put them in, I display them, I feature them, but then money, it's like, oh man, I got money, and I will say that there's vendors out there that have been burned so many times by
Yeah.
social media influencers that they're trying probably to hold people a little bit more accountable. So,
Hmm.
so that they're like, hey, okay, I need to see the numbers on this. So I get that sometimes too. So that's a tough thing. But you have such a big following that I'm surprised you don't get more of it because you do have the following that you do have.
Yeah, like I said, it's just a navigating thing. I've been trying to align myself with people that are willing to help me create the verbiage and create the blueprint, so to speak, to be able to bring to these companies to express exactly what I'm wanting out of them,
Yeah.
and what they can get, so that it's not just oh hey yeah I need X dollars with on top of parts. It's
Yeah.
like
Give me this
yeah
money.
exactly yeah.
Do you have a page that or pages that when you think like, okay, this is how I want my page to be, do you have pages that you look up to?
I won't say pages. I have friends that are also influencers that I look up to, and a lot of them. And I've told, I'm a, this is the thing about me. I support any and everybody that's worth supporting, at least in my eyes, and I pay attention heavily because they're not, I never classify them as competition, but we're all in the same space. So
Yeah.
I have to be aware of what's going on and what people are doing, right? And so like I'm always I feel like that silent cheerleader to a lot of my friends. You know, I'm in the background. I give praise where praise is due often. You know, like I engage with people's stuff as often as I can. But I'm one of those type people that I'll out of left field. Like if I see somebody really doing their thing, right, I may not publicly, you know, give them praise, but I'll be in the background. I'll send them a text, be like, yo, I've been watching what you're doing. Like you're doing a phenomenal job. Like keep killing it. I'm proud of you. Da da da. And I know that people have done that for me. And so I know what that can do to help keep pushing somebody. Cause I know like social media is all about glitz and glam. Like we always see the positives and everything. You don't know what people are going through in the background. Like they may be killing it, but they're tired. They're stressed out. They're going through a lot, or they're right on the edge of losing it because they have to uphold some image, right? They don't know. Sometimes people don't know a boundary on the work that they put in to be able to, you know, take care of themselves. So like giving somebody that little positive affirmation, sometimes, you know, it's something that can really help push somebody to continue doing something. So that's what I like to do. Yeah, I don't really like any pages particularly, but it's just my friends and what they're doing. I'm super proud of all of them.
Well, I think it's cool that you probably got that coming up as well, and then I think in the community you recognize and realize that, you know, there's young up and comers, and you're like, oh shit, like this guy's got, let's say, 30,000 followers. He's hustling all the time. Hey, bro, like to hear it from a big brother or somebody who's been there and it's got a page, a successful page, it's in the community that represents, like that goes a long ways. A quick follow, a quick, hey, keep it up. You're doing a great job. That, you know, that's something where people really reflect on that, and they're like, yeah, that resonates. Man, that guy, that's cool. And now, if I'm that guy, I want to keep doing really good shit because I'm like, Garrett's watching, right? And
Yeah.
from a good way.
Yeah, and it's not to say that I'm anybody special, but I get what you mean. Like, you know, so like just one guy, one person in particular, I can name a whole bunch of people, but one person in particular that kind of came up out of left field is this young brother. His name is Noah. He's out of California. This kid, I don't know how old he is. I don't think he may be like early 20s, but this kid, I don't know, you've probably seen a few of his videos because they've gone mega viral. He's the kid, he'll pull up to a gas station and he'll say, hey, that's a nice car you got. Can I make a quick video for you? Have you seen those?
Yes.
Dude, insane talent.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. And I'm just like, and he's so young.
Yeah.
And you look at his videos. I mean, he had that one video with the Mustang, the GT350, that's at like 100+ million views. And you know, and I'm just like, that's incredible, dude. Like, I mean, every time I get an opportunity to tell him, I'm like, bro, congratulations. Like, you are absolutely killing it. I'm proud of you. Da da da. And I don't know the kid that well. Like, we met once in person at SEMA this past year, but like, I see his work ethic, and I see that he's a genuine person. Like, he gives glory to God every time all the time in his stories, and he's just a good kid. And I can appreciate that. So I push him all the time I can. You know, he's just, so that's the kind of stuff I like paying attention to. You know.
Well, and those guys, they push the content. If you take Noah's content 5 years back, you would have been blown away, right? It's funny because the 5 years ago you're just doing stills, right? And then now everything has to be a video. Instagram, you know, was filling the TikTok. They know the videos, right? They've changed their things. And now you're getting these amazing, I mean, social media is so powerful. You get the way that some of these guys they cut, they direct, and the iPhone, you know, it's like the iPhone commercials, like, hey, you can make a movie with an iPhone, and these guys are doing it. I mean, they're
Yeah,
making
basically.
amazing videos, and they're making these cars. And so it is cool to see how much it does push the level of quality of the content.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah.
100%.
What would you
So
say is the hardest part of your page? Just the hardest part of running, American Muscle HD every day in and day out.
just trying to stay relevant. I'm blown away that I have stayed relevant because we were talking about this earlier. You know, you have some pages that have started off around earlier when I did, and they've come and go. What's blown my mind is that my page has stayed relevant and has continued to grow over the course of 11 years. Like that's highly unheard of, really. And I mainly I attribute that to the fact that I have had some personable attachment to the page, that people understand that there is a person behind it and it's not just a user generated page. But I think that's the hardest thing that I constantly struggle with, because I think it's more of a mental thing. It's just like, am I staying relevant? Am I still doing what everybody enjoys about my page? Am I still posting good content? Am I still creating good content? Da da da. That's the hardest part.
Yeah, keeping up with it, you know.
Yeah.
How do you decide? You know, because like for example, I get so many things that come through, some I don't get, and I just look at it. I'm like, oh, my audience would like that. Do you struggle with that? Like, and then sometimes I'm like, shit, I didn't think that would do that well, and it surprised the hell out of me. And then I thought, oh, I thought people would love that, and they didn't even like it.
Yeah. I think it's like I was talking about with the algorithm right now, like the algorithm's been funky. I haven't been able to figure out what's going on with it in that regard. So I just keep posting what I know is always done well, and then like there'll be videos or there'll be posts that'll pop off, and then there'll be other ones that kind of fall on their face. And I can't I can't get bent out of shape if they do or they don't, because it is what it is. It's nothing I can control. So um yeah, I find stuff, and I feel like if it's something I feel like people are going to engage with, that's the kind of stuff that I'll post.
What would you say is the best part? Like today, like you wake up and you're like, this is the best part of having my page. This is what I love about my page.
Well, I mean, doing stuff like this, man, just like the people, the community of it is the best part. I made so many friends through this, and I wouldn't trade any of that for the world. Like it's honestly, as stupid as this may sound, it's worth more than any of the physical things that I've gained from any of this.
Yeah.
Like money, things, just because all that stuff is irrelevant if you don't have people to enjoy it with. You know what I mean? Like, you have your friends that you go and you see at these shows. You may not see each other all the time because we live all over the country. But man, when I tell you, like, I kid you not, I've had people open up their homes to me that we really don't know each other. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not like, friends. We're internet people, but they I do express my personality very well through social media. So I think people get a very good judge of character from me based on how I hold myself on social media. But like, I've had people, a buddy of mine down in San Diego, I went to California for a rally last summer, and I called him up. I jokingly texted him and was like, he had a 97 Viper GTS. And I jokingly was like, hey man, it'd be dope if you let me borrow the Viper for this rally. And I did not expect him to give me an answer to this. He was just like, and then I sent him another. I was like, you probably won't anyways. He was like, it's not that I won't let you. It's I don't know if it'll be done out of the shop yet. And I'm like, hold up, what do you mean? And sure enough, I never met this dude in person before. Fly to San Diego. We go to the shop, and he literally gives me the keys to his 97 Viper GTS to go do this rally. Now, lo and behold, the car had some issues, and I didn't end up making it with the car. But regardless, the man trusted me with his car, and I've never met him in person before. You know what I mean? That is the craziest thing ever. And I've had that opportunity with many people. My friend Doug Campbell and his wife Marisa, they now live in Florida. They used to live in California. They work for Superformance, or he works for Superformance. And his wife Marisa has a Daytona coupe that was on an episode of Overhauling. Chip Foose built her car. She let me drive that car. You tell me any other person that had a car built by Chip Foose and is going to let some younger dude go just cruise it around, Huntington Beach or wherever we were.
Well, I think you just nailed it, and you're obviously intuitive enough to understand that you project your level of, hey, I'm going to, I instill confidence in other people based upon my personality. They could tell that I'm I'm going to take care of their shit. Nobody's going to let Whistling Diesel borrow anything. Okay. so,
True.
somebody might let Garrett borrow, anything that they got. So yeah, I think that's, and the bottom line is I have a saying that's the trucks are cool, but the people are cooler. And it really could be the automotive, the cars, the trucks, the cars are cool, but the people are cooler. And that's what it is all about. It's like that connectivity of the people and like-minded people. So when you go out, you know, like you said, you've met Jay Leno, you've met Goldberg, and you meet these people and you're like, okay, this is Jay fucking Leno.
Yeah.
Well, Jay Leno's a car guy. Well, Garrett's a car guy, and you could talk cars. And it is kind of like this language that brings people together amongst, you know, just I guess respect of like, look at this. And then you start talking cars and you're like, oh my God. And it's like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
Jay Leno. But hey, he puts his pants on one leg at a time. He likes cars. I like cars. Let's chat, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool, man. Like I said, like really, the relationships are the best thing. I mean, I could go on and on, but like another one um, is Ralph Gilles. I don't know if you're familiar with that name.
I'm not.
He's one of the highest up people at Stellantis, you know, currently now called Stellantis. But he used to be president and CEO of Dodge at one
Hmm?
point, Dodge SRT. So like he was a part of the Viper programs. He actually designed the fifth gen Viper, the last generation Viper. He designed the Chrysler 300C, the car that saved Chrysler in the mid 2000s, early 2000s. And I'm a personal friend of his. Like I'm good friends with him and his wife Doris. And you know, a cool story. I love telling the story because it's just so random. But I was at a party at his garage a couple summers ago, or no, last summer in Detroit, and went there and they had this. His wife had set out this rack of clothes that was all like old Viper related apparel that he didn't want anymore. And it pays to be on time, right? So I get there on time and I'm thumbing through the rack, and at the very end of the rack is this leather Viper jacket. It's almost like a biker jacket. And I'm like, yo, and it was a large, so it's my size. And I'm like, so I can get this? And she was like, yeah. And so sure enough, I have this jacket that's, you know, that was once his. And on the inside of it, it says, you know, made exclusively for Ralph Gilles, president and CEO of Dodge. And he signed it for me and it's hanging up in my closet. Like it's the coolest thing ever, you know. It's so random, you know. And I was there and I was there in Scottsdale this, you know, earlier this year for Barrett Jackson. He let me drive the very first fifth gen Viper off the assembly line is his car. It's a 2013 GTS that's, you know, slightly modified. And he let me go rip it around. He was just like, go have fun.
That's cool.
The first fifth gen Viper off the assembly line, and he let me just go cruise. It's crazy. Like it's honestly crazy.
I just love it because he's getting enjoyment. He knows that you're getting enjoyment, and he's getting enjoyment because he knows, hey, take it for a spin, have a good time,
Mhm.
make your day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, it's just, and again, it's super humbling that people, you know, one, trust me enough and, you know, just allow me the opportunities to be able to do this kind of stuff, you know?
You talk a lot about like the money, right? So if I gave you two money questions. If I gave you 250 to build a car, what would you do?
250,000.
Yep.
Um, that'd probably be the 67 Chevelle convertible. I think I could do everything I wanted to do with 250,000.
Okay. Build it for me. I want to hear it.
It would be roaster shop chassis, probably the spec chassis, doesn't need to be a fast track. Um, Probably forged line wheels, bare brakes.
Motor. What motor?
Yeah, some sort of LS. It might be like a LSX 454 with a supercharger, or maybe it's just an NA LSX 454, one of the two, with a Whipple if I did a supercharger. 6-speed manual, um, you know, baby blue, a lot of metallic, tan interior, tan top.
Tan as in buckskin, tan as in you know, what color tan?
Tan, I mean, shoot.
It's good because tan and blue are just so good. They just work together.
Yeah. The only reason I say that was because I used to work at a classic car dealership called Street Side Classics. I think y'all have one out in Arizona. I worked at the one here in Atlanta, and we had a 66 Chevelle convertible that was a baby blue with tan interior, and I fell in love with that color combo. So that's what I would do for my 67.
You like 7 more than 6?
I do like 7 more than 6. I like the triangle, triangle around the headlight as opposed to the more round. And it's a little sharper of a car. The 66 is a little more round of a car. The 67 is sharper. But I mean,
And what color would you do the top? White or tan?
I would probably keep it tan. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Tan top, tan interior.
Forge line wheels.
Forge lines wide. I mean, I'd go probably like a 315 rear, 285, 295 front. Super stickies, all the way around. I mean, the car would be at a handle, probably put a roll bar, like, put a roll bar between the front and back seat.
Yeah, when you see a pro touring 67 Chevelle, where they've just blown it apart, taken everything that we have available to us today, it's hard to beat that from a sexiness. I mean, I do think, like, you think about Roadster Shop, that kind of that first gen, essentially the first series second gen split bumper Camaro, some of those when they get so low, but God, talk about just a nasty, nasty car.
Oh yeah, a gorgeous car. I mean, again, there's so many other cars I build, but that would be the one. If you gave me a check for 250, I could make that happen.
Okay, so now rewind. I give you 250 to do something else. Build a shop, build a production studio, to build, hey, we know you need some storage for your cars and your projects and the American Muscle HD channel and whatever. What would you do with that?
Yeah, I think, oh man, that'd be super cool. Like, I think obviously a goal, that's so sick. I mean, the goal would be to like have like and I've looked at, again, watching other people and watching all my other friends that do this, having almost like a clubhouse. Like, I wouldn't want like a shop person. I mean, it's a shop, like it's a functioning shop, but having like a clubhouse, so to speak, that has like a lounge area that's maybe up in a terrace, like in a loft, and then having the downstairs is the garage space that has a few lifts and everything you need, tools. And I know that'd be way more than 250,000, but like, having it's a space for people to hang out. So like, you come in town, people roll in town for an event, they need somewhere to work on their car, to keep their car for a little bit. I think that'd be the ultimate thing. You see it in like Fast and the Furious and stuff, just like a hangout spot.
Yeah, couple. You got a bar, you got a pool
Exactly.
table, you got some leather lounges, some cigars, and
TV and
some muscle
banging sound
cars.
system. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah,
That'd be the coolest little setup.
yeah. The boys club. So that is pretty cool. What's your
Hmm.
perspective? Obviously, because we are a C10 Chevy truck pod. What's your perspective when you think about going back, 10 plus years ago? You start your page, and the popularity of classic trucks.
Well, I mean, 10 years ago, I mean, you could still get a square body truck for $3,000, a running, driving, nice truck for $3,000 to $5,000. That ain't the case no more.
Yeah.
The market for those have just blown up, and it's been crazy to watch. I mean, I know you've seen it firsthand too. Actually, I have a Blazer, right?
No.
You have an 89 square body.
Maybe I do remember you posted on your personal page, and then we chat a little bit about that then.
Yeah, I haven't done anything with it, obviously, but
What's your plans? What's your thoughts?
again, me being, having
Space issues.
yeah, space is just sitting at my buddy's shop on his sideline. It's been there for like three plus years, but it's having wine taste on a beer budget, dude. So like, everything I build, I want to elevate, to a degree. Like every build, I want to do better. And so, of course, I want to do a Roadster Shop RS4 and, LSX and da 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 da. It's like, it's a hefty ticket. And even with sponsorships and discounts, like it's still a hefty ticket. And so that's kind of why I've had to shelf it right now, because I'm just like, it's not a priority, and it's not anything I can justify right now. Obviously, if I wish I had the funds to just throw it and just get started on it, but I don't. And so it sucks. I paid $1,500 for it, and it's sitting at my buddy's shop. So it's like, it's not a big deal for me in that regards. And I've got a few parts compiled, but there's no real stress, I don't think, to get it rolling. So eventually I will build it. It'll be a nice truck.
Sure. Is it run now?
No, it's a roller. Like, it has nothing. It's just
Needs
it's
a
just
motor.
axles. Yeah, it's just axles, and the body's really rough. Like, it needs and I mean, but the good thing about that is I'm friends with Auto Metal Direct, and they're right around the corner from my house.
Yeah.
So like, I've already got them. So whenever I need to get the panels, like, I'll get fenders and floor and glass and doors and all that stuff, and it'll be a brand new truck in that regards.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect, that's the end of the road there. They go to 91. You've got, I mean, everybody wants the full vert, the 3, 4, 5 in square.
Yeah.
So however you want to look at it, but first gen or the first three of the second gen. But when you get up to, after 75, 76 and newer, I mean, I like the half tops. You get coverage over your head, you get your doors shut a little nice, a little crisper, and people kind of, prefer a full top, but I get it, the going back to even you with your full convertible on your 67, but an 89, man, take that top off, a little roll bar in the back, and
Yeah.
cruise, and just that's the thing, right? Is you have to find that balance. You talked a little bit about having an RS4. It's like, dude, you can beef up a stock chassis,
I know.
some real nice springs, spend the money on the motor, just a nice, because you're just cruising it, right? It's just a
Yeah.
cruiser. So fun to be up high, nice system, 35s, nice suspension, and the system that just hits, that's it's definitely, you think about a car and a convertible in a car, it's like, dude, I get to drive, be up high, and I get to roll around, and I get some of the same effect.
Yeah. And I mean, I've tossed back and forth. Like, I've talked to the guys at Roadster Shop, and I wanted to do the RS4 just to give it some prominence, right? Because everybody, when you hear Roadster Shop chassis, I'm thinking of the perspective if I sell this thing, right? You
Yeah.
hear Roadster Shop chassis, that automatically adds dollars.
Oh, big money.
You know what I'm saying? So like that's kind of the thing I was thinking. I was like, man, if I can just stomach the beginning of it, when I turn around to sell it, it'll make it up on the back end, but it's just like being able to float it into the back end. So
Oh yeah.
I've got
Back
I've
to
got
that
a set,
marketing
yeah, dude.
or
I've got
business
coilovers.
management.
I've got a set of coilovers that we were actually going to do it was going to be we were going to do big 2.5 by 16 Fox coilovers with reservoirs. Like it was going to be this like was going to be big. And I still have them. So the possibility of us, just saying F it and just, building the stock chassis and just doing it, from scratch with the coilovers that I got is not off the table. Because all of that requires then is just my guys just fabrication work. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I it's not off the table, but I just got to figure out what I want to do.
For sure. Well, and that's where you get in the balance where you think it's just going to be a little bit, and then you're like, I got a buddy who he just spent, I think he's got over 12,000 in a stock C10 chassis. They reinforced this, they did this, and he's like, I should have just fucking bought a chassis. He's like, I
Yeah,
should have just bought a
exactly.
chassis, right? The amount of
Hmm.
time and labor, and then I've been waiting, and it is hard, because everybody's got a 6 to 12 month back order on some of these chassis. So it is. It's the balance of the money and the time, and when we figure it out, we'll let our audience know, because we don't have it figured out.
Yeah, we don't. It's all everybody's in the same limbo. Everybody's in the same, waiting game in the waiting lobby. But
Well, you're still young. You still got a lot to look forward to ahead, and I think the key is have fun doing it from a creative perspective, because it might be, where you kind of, the juices aren't flowing one day, and then you're like, you know what, you get this idea, and you're like, okay, and then that's what's so fun is, you have passion for the cars, you have passion for the people, you have passion for the industry, and it's just like, okay, now I've got this new project, and it's going to push me, and it's going to drive me to make, whether it's Garrett, whether it's American Muscle HD, to constantly keep striving to be better and create better.
yeah, 100%.
No, I was just gonna say, what's your perspective? One of the things I always look at your page, and I think you kind of lead the way on this. I mean, just because of your audience, with these takeovers. You do such a good job of you post them, and then sometimes you say, "Hey, I'm not going to post all this crazy shit. I'm going to post this," and there is a little bit of uh, I think when a public service announcement where you're like,
Yeah,
"Hey, you guys, don't be dumbasses or try to be less of a dumbass." And people are getting hurt, and people are dying, and it is a negative. It's really hurting our industry right now, or our community.
it's so crazy because like the idea of what it is and like what's going on should be so inherently understood that it shouldn't happen, but people do it anyway. It's just, I mean, that's just, if everybody was smart, then it would be like, we have no crime and all this kind of stuff. So throw logic out the window. But it's like, you know, if you go and look at because I have friends that are from the Bay, from Oakland, from NorCal, where sideshows originated.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys were able to do sideshows in a more or less safe manner. They weren't, there wasn't a mob of people. They weren't taking over, congested intersections in the middle of the day. They weren't shutting down the highways. They were doing it in like, business parks at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, where there was nowhere else,
Totally.
no one could get hurt. It's the same thing with street racing. You go into the very back of a business complex where there's no cars. You know what I'm saying? There's no cross traffic. There's no, pedestrians. The only two people that can get hurt are the two drivers.
Yep.
It's a mutual agreement that you come to be right when you get there, and that if something happens, if somebody crosses or whatever, that you could get jumbled up, and you two could get hurt, but nobody else can get hurt, and that's what it should be. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the logic of why people would want to purposefully put themselves in harm's way or put others in harm's way when it doesn't have to be that way blows my mind. You know what I mean? I don't get it. Now, again, I made the last post I made about the takeover thing and saying it's got cancer to the car culture. I won't sit here and lie to you. Obviously, me with social media, I look for the stuff that can get engagement. I think it's hilarious when these folks get ragdolled. When they get clipped by the rear of the car and they ragdoll themselves, because it's like you can't blame nobody but yourself. So if you can't be mad at me for laughing, you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's Darwin, man. That's just Darwin.
Did it
like
to yourself, so you can't be mad at me for laughing at you. So it's like it's a weird balance of like, obviously, posting it is semi-promoting it, but also at the same time, it's a thing of showing like, yo, this is not what we should be doing. And so it's kind of like you're kind of shaming it a little bit, but at the same time, in the back of your head, you're like, all right, this is kind of funny because these doofuses are flipping over like like rag dolls.
Oh, dude. It is crazy. They sit there and they, it's like, dude, you're going to get clipped and you're trying to just get the content or whatever. Next thing you know, you're in the hospital and you've got a hip fracture and,
head split open and all kinds of stuff.
And that's why they're going to shut them down, and they continue to try to stay, ahead of it, but I don't think they're doing a great job. I just think, one night of fun, LS Fest does a great job of it, right? It's pretty crazy to think that you can have what they've created and things that we're not supposed to do or were illegal to do, or when you were in high school you wanted to do, now you legally get to do them in in a controlled atmosphere that's as safe as can be. But these guys are doing it, and I get that when you're young and you want to have fun and you're doing stupid shit, that's part of being young. But at the same time, dude, they're going to continue to crack down, and it's not helping our scene.
No, it's not. It's not. And I mean, it's a shame because the majority of people can agree that this is not what we endorse, particularly when it's like the same thing with the 2A community, right? When they start overgeneralizing terms, over like blanketing terms over a multitude of things, like they want to classify takeovers of these things as street racing, and it's like that's not the same thing. Yeah, street racing, quote unquote, I guess is still illegal as well, but like most street racing again happens, 2 o'clock in the morning on on a very unpopulated street or little to no population street where there's no, they have spotters, all this kind of stuff to where they're making sure everyone gets home safe.
Yeah, I think, because I'm in public safety, I think that the challenge there is you are doing all those things, but when people die and people get hurt, people, they society just doesn't accept that. And it's always got to be somebody else's fault. You're like, hold on. These guys knew the risk. These guys knew what they were doing. Maybe they didn't think they were going to die, but
it happens on an actual official drag strip too.
Yeah, but those people have probably different safety things built into their cars and so forth. But I get it. At one point, again, going back to Darwin, it's like 70, or not 70, but in the 70s and the 80s, it's like people just didn't lose their shit. But because we have social media that everybody finds out about all these different things, it challenges the fun that people are going to have. And for whatever reason, people can have a 9 out of 10 fun at a drag strip, but it's going to be 11 out of 10 if they're doing it more illegally and out and about. But they've been doing them for, I don't know, 60 years. People have been dragging up and down and doing what they do. It's just that these takeovers completely give everything just such a negative connotation to it. It really does hurt our scene.
Yeah, because again, like you said, people have been street racing since the 50s.
For sure.
Like, that hasn't been a new thing in a long time. They've probably been doing it a little bit before then, but it didn't really become a popular thing until the late 60s, early 70s. Drag racing on the street has been a thing for a long time. And again, I'm not saying this to endorse it, like it's like it should be, whatever. But when you also see that it doesn't help that a lot of a lot of drag strips are closing now because of housing development. They're selling the land, and you get noise pollution, complaints. You heard about this recently with Laguna Seca. You know, you got neighbors complaining about. It's like, why'd you move near a racetrack?
Yeah, yeah.
The racetrack's been there for years, tens of years. Why are you complaining now? You just moved. Your realtor should have told you you're moving next to a racetrack. That's your fault.
Yeah, it's
You
like an
know, but
airport. It's like, hey, it's right there. It's not going anywhere.
yeah, it's like, come on now. You move next to the L train in Chicago, your house is gonna shake every night. It's like, why would you complain about something and there's something that's been there for years? It doesn't make any sense. So, the closing of these tracks doesn't help anything, particularly for the drag racing aspect of things. People they're gonna do what they're gonna do. Now that again, that's nice getting off topic for the takeover thing, but the thing about that, man, it's a lot of young kids you can't reason with, and it's just like it's a hard lesson that they got to learn. They're gonna get arrested or they're gonna get hurt, one of the two.
Yeah, I just hope that unfortunately the larger perspective is that, like what happened with LST, is they're going to start holding everybody accountable, and you're like, this has nothing to do with the show. This has nothing to do with the event, and
Yeah.
you're ruining it for other people. So I would hope that these, people creating and they're just disrespectful when you look at it, talking to the LST people, the Lonnie, Jared, Radar, they looked at some of these police cameras and this footage, and these kids were just, damage of property, stealing of property, being so disrespectful to public safety. And so they're just going to end up shutting things down. So hopefully, we can control it a little bit better, because
Yeah.
it's going to get out of control.
I don't know how it looks, man, but I'm with you on that. I hope that it comes to an end at some point, because it's like this is getting out of control.
On a little bit more positive note, so what's the 5-year plan look for you? So, what are you thinking? 1-year plan, 5-year plan? You got goals, aspirations of what you want, to do, create, build.
I want to do more on camera stuff. That's been something that I've been pushing for lately. And I was honored with the opportunity to actually be a guest host on Kevin Hart's Muscle Car Crew show last season. We filmed last year. It aired last month, and that was really cool. So I was on an episode of that. And it's something that I've learned that I'm actually pretty good at, like being on camera and talking. So I want to be able to have more opportunities to do stuff like that. So that's kind of where I see myself moving towards.
With that, do you and will you try to do more lives?
Yeah, I mean, to a degree. I mean, I don't really do them now just because I've always been working. Like, there's been times where I've been out like at an event or something like that, and I thought that the service was going to be okay, and then I'll get on there and people will be like, "Oh, the quality's bad" or whatever, and then I'm just like, "All right." So I don't do them because I don't want the quality to be crap. But yeah, I mean, I haven't done a live in a long time actually, but I'm not against doing them.
Yeah, I just think you have the platform, and if you do lives and maybe you just have topics and you're going to talk about it for 10 minutes, you'd be surprised. And whether you need a moderator to help, facilitate that, because you're bouncing questions or you're talking to different, because people are there's always something going on with whether it's the EPA and SEMA, and this company came out with this, and because you do a great job for the audience. It's not just old school stuff too. I mean, you're talking vets a lot. You've got caddy stuff, Escadinales from your car to, hey, I remember when I think you did a thing when they just came out with the latest, the newest version of the Escalade. There's so many different things that you have going on. And another huge topic really is another one, and I don't want to just go down any negative wormhole, like takeovers can be negative, but the EV stuff is a huge thing. I just saw a post the other day and somebody was like, if it's not burning, dinosaur juice, I don't want it. And, it's not going anywhere, whether we like it or not, it's not going anywhere. So that's a whole nother perspective to where people will tune in to hear not only what you have to say, but, other people as well.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I haven't thought about that. I probably ought to do like a story thing and just be like, hey, like, kind of introduce a topic as to what I might talk about for the live. Just be like, hey, I'm gonna be on here for 5 to 10 minutes, and just like, this time tomorrow I'll be on there and we can talk about this. We'll pop in and we'll discuss something, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think people would dig it, and you would know right away. Like you do it for every other Monday or something, or every Monday for 10 minutes, or what Tuesday, Wednesday. What did it matter? Hump day, it don't matter. But I think you'd know real quick. Hey, people dig this. This is fun. This is a fun format, and you would like it too.
Yeah, 100%. That's a good
Yeah.
idea. Should definitely try that.
All right. Anything else to throw out? You've met some amazing celebrities throughout. You got anybody that you want to check off your list? Somebody who you're like, man, I think if I got to meet this guy or go for a ride with this guy, it would be the pinnacle.
It's a good question. Um,
Dead or alive? Who would, if I said, Garrett, you get to go for a 2 hour, 10 to 2 hours, doesn't matter, 10 minutes, 2 hours, road trip, drive trip, whatever, who you sitting with?
oh, that's a good question. Oh, damn. Oh, I
Okay,
don't
think
know.
about that one. I got another one I know you'll be able to answer.
All right, all right.
All right, you're cruising. The 84 is just out of paint. It's looking fresh. Everything looks perfect. And you for whatever reason, the radio, I don't know why, but it has a CD only. So, or we're going back to 84 and it only has a cassette
Cassette.
because you wanted to keep it OG.
Uh,
What cassette is stuck in the deck?
well, they wouldn't be. It has to be. Is it 84 or I have a
No,
cassette deck
no, no,
today?
no. It's a cassette because the car's a 84,
Okay, but it's
and then you
today.
could have
But it's
any.
today.
You can make your own mixtape. It don't matter what's stuck in.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. If I'm playing an album, it's gonna be 36 Chambers by Wu-Tang.
Okay, yeah, that's old school, dude. Yeah,
Yeah, 36 Chambers by Wu-Tang. Because I'm pretty sure they still had a cassette when they dropped that, because they dropped that in
it don't matter.
90.
You can make your own. Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I guess I can make
yeah.
my own
That was
cassette.
all cassette. So I'm a 91er, so I graduated 92. So that's the crossover where we had to have cassettes,
That
and
was
then
reasonable doubt time, right?
well, yeah,
They
and then
used to
you
do
and
it for
then you
that?
and then you had discs. You had discs, a disc man that you had to plug into your cassette, and then
Yeah.
that's how you played it. So yeah, that's a good one to be stuck in there. You could
Yeah,
definitely
36 Chambers. That's a great album. That are like Reasonable Doubt, or Illmatic, something like that. Something classic.
nice,
Um,
nice smooth hits. You know.
yeah.
Well, okay, so now you're in the 67. The top's down. Are you listening to anything, or are
Oh
you
yeah, I'm
just
jamming oldies. I'm jamming oldies.
okay?
Like I'm probably listening to I'll probably listen to a mix of, like, some Stylistics, the Spinners, Earth, Wind and Fire, like
Ooh.
all the oldies, the Commodores,
Yeah.
Four Tops, the OJs,
Oh man.
all that
Yeah.
stuff. That's what I'm vibing to.
Yeah, the cool thing about that those tunes, they've been like remastered, and your system's going to be so crisp that's
Hmm.
just going to sound so good. Top down, jam it out to the
Yeah, on the
Commodores.
boulevard. On the
Oh,
boulevard, just cruising. Yeah, listening to Zoom
oh,
or Easy.
Lionel's just spitting it out, dude.
Yeah,
Lionel's
Zoom
just
or Easy, man. Just cruising down the boulevard. Come on now. They ain't nothing
uh,
better.
all right. So now 71 Monte Carlo, what's hitting? Now remember, you could just be listening to the motor.
I
I'm just
might that
saying.
that might just be a motor only car. That car probably doesn't have a system in it.
All right,
If it's a big block and I want that thing thumping, there's no system in that car.
okay.
Maybe I'll have like a Bluetooth speaker that's on the dashboard or something. If I wanted to
Cup
have
holder,
something going on.
JBL 5,
Yeah,
the little,
JBL
yeah,
five
in
or
the
something
cup
on the on
holder.
the on the dashboard, but that's about it. But yeah, I think that's the car that the motor is the music.
Oh man, I just can't. I love the picture of the 71 of the interior. I can smell it from here. I'm in Arizona and I could smell it from here. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying bad. I'm saying like, oh damn, this is like, this is the old school interior,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be a fun one. You got
And
to
the
buy
interior
that.
is trash. Like the seats are, I mean,
Oh
it's probably
no.
no, the interior is trash. Like it would need all new interior. But I wouldn't even go crazy with it. Like I would get some very inexpensive door panels, put the door panels on, and I would just get seats. I would just get seats, and then I'd put a manual. Like it'd be like, still they would have no carpet on the floor, maybe Dynamat the floor or something like that, but it would just be the shifter. There'd be no center console. I mean, bare bones, dude. All the money is in the drivetrain.
Nice, nice.
That's
Yeah.
the plan.
And then you're gonna have it for so long that somewhere, somehow, somebody's gonna come across another Monty and another first gen, and they're gonna have like the interior, and you're gonna be able to pull it out, and it's gonna be just like it's just gonna be pristine, like a 42,000 mile
Grandma's Sunday
grandma.
car.
Yep, yeah, and you're gonna pop that out and you're gonna be ready to go. That'd be pretty tight. So all right, so
The tweed interior, the twill interior.
oh, Tweed. I wonder, do you think Tweed will ever come back? I just asked this the other day. I kind of
Oh
hope it
no,
doesn't, but
I don't know.
my thighs get all sticky when I just start talking about it. Sitting on
It's
that
like
Tweed.
it's like the '80s crushed velour and like the Cadillacs. I don't know if that's ever gonna come back.
I'll take crushed velour all day over Tweed all
In
day.
Arizona, you'll take crushed velour, boy, you'd be on fire.
Dude, I'm telling you, Tweed's the same way, man. Tweed just makes my thighs, my hamstrings just itch. It's just sweaty and itchy and scratchy and yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's
I
so
got
funny.
I got no business for that. So, all right. So who's this celeb? Who'd you in the back of your mind? You figure somebody?
I mean, maybe
And it
if
doesn't
I'm
have to be a
thinking,
celeb. It could be anybody. It could be grandma, ma. It could be anybody you want to go cruise with.
oh man, if you want to make me cry, yeah, I would say my grandmother. But if it was a celebrity, maybe Steve McQueen.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Because I would have to have him go take me back to San Francisco. I'd have to hit him to recreate that chase scene. Because I still don't believe that those cars were actually able to do that. I see that 68 Charger come around that turn on them little bicycle tires, and I'm like, there's no way those tires are holding that. But I've talked to people and they said that those cars could actually handle like that. And I'm like, hey, if you say so.
That's
So
cool.
I'd have to get him to try to help me, recreate that with the Mustang, with the Bullet.
I think it's so cool when we can go back and be motivated and inspired by history and things that they did with these cars, and then we're lucky that we can bring it, all the way back around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
agree. I agree.
So I hit a little soft spot there. Your grandma, was she a big part of your life?
Huge part of my life, man. She, I mean, like, my biggest cheerleader, 100%. She passed away 4 years ago now. But I had a very wholesome moment with her shortly before she passed away, maybe about 2 weeks before. But I had a Mercedes AMG GTR as a press car, and we were living up in North Georgia at the time in the mountains. And just outside of our neighborhood, we had this really windy road that I used to go and test the cars on. And I took my mom, my dad, and my grandmother each for rides. And my grandmother was small, especially by the end of her life. She was maybe only like 4'11", 5 foot even. She was a little woman. And I kid you not, like I was getting after it in this car. Like I was going hard. And you remember those, you ever see those videos like the guy, like this, like the grandson trying to get the reaction out of their
Oh
granny?
yeah.
I wanted that. I had the GoPro mounted. I had it recording, and I wanted to get a reaction out of her. And for the life of me, she was stoic as can be, just stone face. And so we go into the first run and we whip around, and like she didn't make a noise. I look over at her, I'm like, you did. I was like, what's up? Like that wasn't. She was like, oh, it's cool. I was like, it was cool.
Yeah. It's a
I was like,
G-force,
okay.
Granny.
I was like, hold up. So then I was like, all right, I'm turning up a bit because I knew I still had something to push out of it. So I get back on it and we go. And then she basically was just like egging me on, like not egging me on, but she was kind of like playing to my platitude a little bit. And she was just like making like these wee noises. It's like she was on a roller coaster, but it wasn't real. I was like, come on, man. I was trying to get a genuine reaction out of you. And you over here just playing with me. But that woman was stoned. She was stone cold the entire time. She just handled it like a champ. And I still have the video saved on my desktop, and I look at it every now and again. And yeah, I miss her dearly, man. I love her to death.
Well, it's cool that you had that experience with her, right?
Mhm.
Because there's times where you think back and you're like, man, I just gotta enjoy every moment.
Yeah, yeah, and I one of the things like not to get super deep, but like I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, like personally, and I realized that her and I never took that many pictures together, especially as I was older. And so I reflected back on that, and I was just like, damn, I don't have anything to really like go back and physically look at between her and I have memories, obviously, but like that's one thing that I've been trying to do. And Solomon is the best person at this. When he sees people at events, I mean, that boy is the selfie master. I try to do my very best because I like living in the moment. I'm very much a in the moment type person, and I just try to enjoy people's company while I'm around them. And I don't think about taking the pictures, but at the same time, I've been trying to be mindful of that because you never know when life happens, and you know you may not have a physical memory like something tangible that you can go back and look at and say like, oh yeah, man, like I got a picture with so and so, or this was the last time we hung. You know,
Well, this will be a fun debate because I'm more on the side of you and Solomon will and I'm poking fun, but I'm trying to not cross the line of being disrespectful. But if I said right now, if I said you get to have 5 minutes with grandma, are you gonna talk to her for 5 minutes or are you gonna worry about a picture?
I'm gonna talk to her for 4 minutes and 59.5 seconds and hope I can get that picture in the last
Yeah,
half.
it is hard the world we live in with these, these cameras and these machines in our pockets. And I do selfies too. I love it, but I think the living in the moment is going to hard to it's almost always going to win, cuz you get that moment where you're staying cuz we know this we'll be talking to one another and you're like people are looking at their phone and you're like, "Hey, look at me. Like let's talk," and I do it. I've been on both ends, of giving and receiving where I'm distracted by something and I just think that living in the moments, it's hard to beat living in the moment.
Yeah, I try my best to do that, and then again it seems like I get done with what I'm doing and I'm like, fuck, I didn't, my part of my language, I'm like, I didn't get a picture with
Yeah.
so and so, or I didn't take any pictures of what we were doing, and it eats me up sometimes. And I'm just like, man, now I don't have any, like I have the memory, but I have nothing to go back and look at and just be like, hey, like
Yeah.
I was with you here and we did these things, so
I think the family is the big one for me. We do that at truck shows and we've had my family together and I'm so pissed and I tell my wife and we've gotten to the point where like, hey, throw the camera out to somebody. Hey, will you guys take a picture like me and my kids working at the booth and and it is life's crazy though because we didn't have Facebook a long time ago and now Facebook will send it every morning you wake up they're sending you some memory and it almost makes me sad because you're like,
yeah,
oh my God, that was 5 years ago and it's weird how that works and I think
100%.
they're trying to tell us to live in the moment because you're like that was 5 years ago and you're like so I don't know I just know you wake up and you do the best you can every day and whether there's a picture or the moment and you're just trying to find balance and I don't know anybody who's happy with their life work balance but I just feel like balance is the key.
Yeah, 100%. If you can semi figure it out, you'll be doing well.
Yeah, and I hope you're happy about figuring it out because that's right. Then you're like, no, I'm not happy because I want more money because I want to build this car, and now I want more time, and it's like, good luck, everybody.
Yeah, man.
Garrett and I figure it out. We'll push a book.
I've been battling the happiness thing for a little bit recently, man, and it's just like, I try to get back to the root of it all and just think like, all right, man, I woke up this morning, I'm more or less in good physical condition, like I'm good. Like there's
Yeah.
no reason not to be happy. So you try to put out all the anything negative that you really don't have any control over, and you put that out of your head, man, and then that's when you can become happy again.
Yep. Yep. You're right. Just live in the moment, have fun and enjoy it. We're so blessed. We're so lucky. We've got where we're at with this. And again, if I think if you look back and you see that social media post so many times where it's like if you would have asked your 20-year-old self, what you wanted, and you told that 20-year-old this is where you'd be blown away. And the reason
Mhm.
why you are here is because you are you. And I love that about that, where it's like, yeah, you're right. My 20-year-old will be freaking elated. And
Yeah, be
and
psyched.
and and I and I need to be elated right now and give
Yeah,
gratitude and the support to the family. And yeah, that's what it's all about. It is. It is. So social media is a powerful thing. I think what you're doing is just it's constantly fun to watch. Again, I think you're a generational page. Keep doing what you're doing. If there's anything we can help you with, and I know it goes both ways. You've been very gracious, not only, when we chat before, but with your time. And I think it's going to be the next, 12 to 60 months. You got a lot going on.
I appreciate that, man. Like I said, it's all love. Like I really thank you for having me on and staying on my case about it because I hate that it took this long to get here. But man, it's like the community, like I said, the community of this is the best thing. So it's like I'm always here if you need anything, bro, and we're gonna do some stuff. So it's good.
It is good. So for the audience, if you don't follow Garrett's main page, American Muscle HD, and you can check out his personal page. The name is Garrett. Is that what Garrett is the name?
Yeah,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah, Garrett is the name, and that's a pretty entertaining page as well. So, with that, we'll take you out. C10 Talk, and nothing but the best. Can't wait to get this picture of the 71 Monte Carlo. I'm chomping at the bit here, and then I think we're gonna dream build this 67 because those are gonna be two amazing cars.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I'm gonna send you the picture here now, and I know you're gonna be like, yeah, go buy that today.
Go get it. Stay on the line. I'm going to take you out. 3, 2, 1. All right, Garrett. I appreciate your time. Have a great day. And again, we'll chat later.
All right, brother. Appreciate you.
Late.